Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Blu-Roy Movies. It's Sunday morning, can only mean one thing. It's time for the weekly watches. Now, this week, we've managed to get through 8 titles in the collection, slightly more than usual, probably because it is international break in the football, no Premier League, just boring England. God, they were rubbish the other night, weren't they? I watched that and just speechless how terrible they were. But let's get on with the films because that's what we're all about. So we started off, if you remember, last week, me and Mrs. Blu-Roy, we watched Annabelle, and by golly, it was terrible. One of the worst films I've seen for a long time, and I've struggled with it. So this week we're on to Annabelle Creation, which is just there in the middle. Focus, thank you. And I wasn't looking forward to this, and one or two of you guys told me that actually it was quite the step up in quality, and surprise, surprise, yes it was, and I did actually enjoy it. It's as much as the first Annabelle film, I found it really boring. This one really entertained me. This story goes back to the beginning with Annabelle and her being made by this toy maker, and the toy maker's little girl she meets with a terrible, terrible ending that made me wince. Really horrible it was. And then the doll becomes a conduit for evil, and their house turns into an orphanage, and these young girls come and stay there, and all hell breaks loose with Annabelle. But yeah, really entertaining stuff, some good gnarly kills, and it just kept me entertained all the way through. So total opposite to the first film. Yeah, really enjoyed that. And now going into the last one, which we probably watch tonight, Annabelle Comes Home, is it? I might make it through this trilogy without topping myself, I think, because after the first one I thought, oh god, no, how am I going to get through the next two? But yeah, really uptick in form, really good surprise, and thanks guys for tipping me off on that one. Next up, Americana Rojo, or in layman's terms, Red Dawn, with this, I think it might be a Spanish Blu-ray, looks Spanish writing on the back, that Larry kindly sent me. Now, I remember really enjoying this in the past, but it's aged like milk, I'm afraid. I just didn't really enjoy it at all this time round. Great to start with, where the Russians and the Cubans are first invading the States, and they're taking this small town, and what's this small town done to America, I don't know, done to Russia, I don't know, with the helicoptering in and parachuting in and shooting everybody up. But it went downhill after that, I'm afraid. Once they got up to the mountains, I found it a bit tedious, which is a shame, because like I say, I really remember enjoying it before. I just don't think it's aged very well. It's very 1980s propaganda against those bloody commies. Reagan was president at the time, and I could imagine him sat there enjoying that with his big bucket of popcorn, and maybe he's invited Maggie to come along and watch it with him. Good cast though. Patrick Swayze, God rest him. I always like Patrick Swayze. Charlie Sheen. C. Thomas Howell is topical with a lot of you guys at the moment after picking up the Hitcher set. Lee Thompson, Harry Dean Stanton is always fantastic. Powers Booth, yeah, he was a standout. I love Powers Booth. Jennifer Grey, yes, a great cast. Who directed it? John Milius directed it. But yeah, have you guys seen this recently? What did you think? Because like I say, just didn't age well at all for me. Decent though, I'll keep it in the collection, and one day it might find its way into the player, and you never know. Won't catch me on a different day, and I might enjoy it more. Next up, in a rewatch and an absolute blast and a film I really enjoy, R.E.D. Retired Extremely Dangerous. With what a cast this has got in. Bruce Willis, Morgan Freeman, John Malkovich, Ellen Mirren, and host more Carl Urban. I like Carl Urban. Mary Louise Parker as the love interest. Brian Cox, Richard Dreyfuss. I mean, what a cast that is. I thought I said Gregory Peck. I was going to say, you what? That's Christopher Beck. Must be somebody who worked on it. Oh, he did the music. Absolutely love this film. I'm not going to say guilty pleasure because I'm never guilty about anything I like. If I like it, I like it. This is all about Bruce Willis. He's a retired CIA agent, is it Secret Services? And people are starting to kill him and trying to kill him. And he digs into it and he finds out that everybody on this list who'd done a covert mission back in the past, they're all getting killed off slowly and surely. And he's got to get to the bottom with it with the helps of like Morgan Freeman, who's brilliant, and Malkovich, who plays this extremely paranoid ex-Secret Services guy, and he generally turns out that he's right in it. Helen Mirren, fantastic in it. The girlfriend interest too, like Bruce has to kidnap her at start to keep her quiet from going to the authorities. Yeah, really, really good fun. A film, like I say, I really enjoy it. Stick it in every couple of years and give it a watch. And I might watch the second one as well pretty soon because I enjoyed that one as well. It's a series. Well, it won't happen now because poor old Bruce is struggling, but I'd love to see a third one. And I followed that up with McCabe and Mrs. Miller. And I wasn't really expecting to enjoy this as much as I did. Because I've seen a couple of the director's films. Was it Robert Altman, isn't it? Yeah, Robert Altman. I've seen a couple of his films. The Cold Day in the Park and Popeye, and both totally different films, and neither that I enjoyed particularly much. So I wasn't expecting much out of this, but you know what? I loved it. It was bloody brilliant. It's about Warren Beatty's character, McCabe. He moves into this small upcoming town and builds a casino and a drinking house. And he also builds a brothel, which was part of the Old West, like a traditional feature. And he fills it with 3 prostitutes that you wouldn't want to pay much money to go in there. And Julie Christie's character, Mrs. Miller, she turns up and she's like a more high class madam of the brothel, and she brings some better quality of girls, shall we say, and the town takes off and it becomes a boom town, which comes to the intention of a big mining company who want to buy them out. McCabe, being the smart ass that he is, he tries to wangle more and more money out of them, but they're not having it. They decide, you know what, it's the Old West, in it? We'll just kill them and take what we want for ourselves. But really enjoyable ride and some good humour in there, and it's beautifully shot. It's one of these westerns that's shot in the snow, which I quite like, and by God, the cinematography, it makes you feel cold just watching it because it's just snow and ice everywhere and it doesn't stop snowing. I think Tarantino must have took some influence off this for The Hateful Eight, because I can see a lot of that in there, and it's just one hell of a ride, and the shootout at the end is bloody brilliant. So yeah, one of the films of the week, just absolutely wonderful stuff. And again, I wonder why it's been set on my shelf in my HMV premium section, which is, you can maybe quite make it out there. But in another way, I think it vindicates me of having this collection, because I just keep discovering new, to me, films all the time, and much akin to like you go to the library for a book and you scroll through and you might find a book you never heard of. I'm just talking myself into vindicating why I've got all this lot, ain't I? But there you go, yeah, McCabe and Mrs. Miller. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Absolute wonder of a film. And next up, Blu-ray. I've seen the film before, but on DVD, and after watching Stuart George talking about it in one of his videos, A Night to Remember, just reminded me I haven't seen it for ages, and Stuart was saying how great the transfer is on this, and he was dead right there, because it's crystal clear, pin sharp, beautiful. If you'd have told me you was watching a 4K and I didn't know, I wouldn't have argued with you. A Night to Remember, a brilliant, brilliant telling of the Titanic story. Again, I could see many influences for Cameron in this, because he's lifted some of his scenes right out of here. Just wonderful study of people from different classes and how everybody adapts to situations in their own way. You get somebody who take it all in their stride and stiff up a lip and sit in the bar and have a stiff whiskey while other people are running around losing their shit. Yeah, really, really enjoy it. And spoiler alert, it sinks in the end. You probably knew that anyway. Yeah, Kenneth More in this is great. I like Kenneth More. I could imagine crisis situation. Kenneth More would have been the guy you'd follow. Certainly I would anyway. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And thanks, Stuart, for just nudging me in the right direction to picking up the Blu-ray, because that's one I will not regret. Next up is Psycho 3. Now, Psycho 2, I did think it was okay, but a lot of people had hyped it up quite a bit, and in some aspects it fell a little bit flat for me. And you know what? I enjoyed this one a bit more than Psycho 2. I think it's just Norman Bates going full Norman Bates. Perkins directs it as well as starring in it, and I just think he gave himself license to ham it up, and ham it up he did wonderfully. I think it's actually quite an underrated actor, Perkins. I think he was better. He's more than just Psycho. I've seen him in a couple of things, and he's been good in that as well. But this is a story of Norman. Carries on sort of after Psycho 2, and this suicidal nurse turns up. Not nurse, sorry, suicidal nun. Bit of a difference between a nun and a nurse. Both kinky uniforms. So what am I on about? Where did that come from? So this suicidal nun turns up, and she reminds Bates of... I've put myself off now. She reminds Bates of Janet Leigh's character from the original Psycho. So he takes a shine to her, and also this sort of drifter guy played by Jeff Fahey, who was brilliant. He turns up and works for Norman, and chaos soon ensues because Norman's full cuckoo at this stage. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm quite looking forward to Psycho 4 now. Always makes me laugh in here every time Bates looks through the peephole into the next room. There's always some boobs on displays. Like, they're never sat there doing their knitting or crocheting or reading a book or anything like that. They've always got their boobs out. So Norman just must have this boob radar in him. Yes, Psycho 3, really enjoyable. Next up, I watched, because I'd done a bit of a Jurassic Park watch a few weeks ago, and I stopped after a while. So I watched the next one, and it did fool me for a while, because you see on the front cover of this 2-pack, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom and Jurassic World. So me being me, just stuck Fallen Kingdom in, thinking that's the next one, because that's the first one, and the picture at the top makes it look like it's the first one. And I got about 15 minutes into it. I thought, because I'd seen them before a long time ago, I thought, I've missed something here. Then I realised I was watching the wrong disc, so I had to swap them over and start from the start of Jurassic World. And I really enjoyed this. I think it might be my second favourite Jurassic Park film. Obviously, you're never going to beat the OG original brilliant one, but this one of the big dinosaur they make. They make this dinosaur that's bigger and tougher than the Tyrannosaurus and more angry and what could possibly go wrong. They never learn the lessons, do they? Nice to see the park actually in full operation with people around. I quite enjoy that aspect of it. Yeah, it's a series I do really enjoy. That's Jurassic World. Next up, and I've got a huge thanks to say here, and that was Crawl. And this was kindly sent to me by Mark, who you guys probably know as Bushman Blue, who's got an absolutely fantastic channel. Mark's got a brilliant knowledge of film. Mark's a brilliant guy, wonderful guy. Always enjoy his videos. Like I say, great knowledge of film. If you're not subscribed to Mark Bushman Blue, go over, give him a follow. Down to earth guy, loves his movies. It's what it's all about. I'll stick his details down below. Go over, give Mark some love. And Mark upgraded this to 4K recently. I think somebody gave him a wonderful package of just fantastic stuff. Like I say, go watch that video because Mark got some great stuff in his last haul. And Mark kindly sent me over the Blu-ray of a film I've never ever seen before. And this was a real blast. I really enjoyed this. Just great, turn your mind off action, horror type. Set in Florida, where there's a tornado about to strike, which is very topical at the moment because that's what's been happening in real life. Who lives in a place like this? Why would you live in a place where you have to move away from home for a few days, 2 or 3 times a year, and you're not sure if your home's going to be even there when you get back? It just boggles my head. Like, and how much does it cost to insure these places? And can they actually insure them? Because I know if I was an insurance company and somebody turned around and says, "Want to insure me place in Florida?" I'd say, "Yeah, righto, mate, whatever." But this is great. The girl, I can't remember her name now. I can't remember I've seen her before, but she goes and rescues her dad, played by Barry Pepper, who I always remember as a young, fresh-faced guy in the likes of Saving Private Ryan and The Green Mile. So just makes you see where the years roll on mercilessly now that he's playing the dad to this grown-up woman. And they end up trapped below in the crawl space of their house and being attacked by marauding alligators. And it's as simple as that, but it's really enjoyable. Some brilliant kills, some brilliant gore. And I was actually rooting for the alligators because these guys have ignored all warnings that they've had, putting themselves and the emergency services at risk of their own lives just because they couldn't get away and evacuate. And I'm sure, like, how this hurricane was raging, that they wouldn't be flying a helicopter about. Absolutely balmy, absolutely bonkers, but just a great time with some great kills and really good fun. So once again, thanks, Mark. I really appreciate you sending that my way, and one that I'll keep in my collection now because I thought it was great and I could see myself watching that a few times. Brilliant. Thanks very much again, mate. So that's it for the week. What did you think? Have you seen? You've probably seen most of them because it was quite an entertaining centric week, if you like nothing really highbrow, and that's not planned. It's just the way the week worked out. Yeah, great stuff. So if you've liked what I've done today, give me a thumbs up. Maybe subscribe if you want to hear more of this twaddle, and I'll catch you all soon. Ta-ra.